Ojai. Nicaragua, the state in Central America, between Costa Rica in the south and Honduras in the north. Europeans opened the Atlantic coast of Nicaragua in 1502. The fourth travel of H. Columbus. Gaining the country by Spaniards began in 1522. Gil González de Villa. With inhabiting southwest territories. An isthmus between the Lake Nicaragua and the Pacific coast. Indians, one of Aztec tribes, the owner signed the contract and by name the leader. Cossack. Of the tribe Nicaro, named the whole country. However, in northern territories to Spaniards several years were necessary to be at war with other Indian tribes. In the 16th century the Spanish conquistadors founded two cities. Granada, on the northwest coast of the Lake Nicaragua, and León, near the Pacific coast. A considerable part of the Indian population was destroyed or died out from the diseases delivered by Spaniards. The others began to mix up with the Spanish settlers. In Nicaragua, conquistadors didn't find large-scale deposits of gold and silver, therefore Granada and León became agrarian colonies of Spain. Since the end of the 16th century for work on plantations. Indigo, sugar cane and cocoa. Began to deliver black slaves from Africa, but this labor was used in Nicaragua in rather small scales. From 1570 to 1821 Nicaragua, as a part of the Spanish General Captaincy Guatemala. The territory of Nicaragua was divided between landowners latifundists who practiced an encomienda and east part of the country, the coast of mosquitoes, with an healthy climate and deep forests. Spaniards wasn't colonized. There the English pirates hunting the Spanish ships located. Having been fixed on east coast, British since the 17th century made raids on the west of Nicaragua, down the river San Juan, and attacked the Spanish colonies. During this period Mosquitoes' population of the coast grew in the basic at the expense of the black running from the English colonies. Seeking to strengthen the positions in Muscatia, British organized elections of the Black King. British retained control over the Mosquito Coast up to the middle of the 19th century when were forced to leave under pressure from the USA, planning to carry out then across the territory of Nicaragua the channel connecting the Atlantic and Quiet Oceans from there. 1821 During the War of Independence of the Spanish colonies in America, the territory of Nicaragua is a part of the Mexican Empire. 1823-1838, Nicaragua is a part of the connected provinces of Central America. 1838 Independence of Nicaragua. From the middle of the 19th century fight between the USA and Great Britain was started for the prevailing influence in Nicaragua. Generally for the purpose of construction in her territory of the Interocene Channel. 1856 June, the President William Walker. September 1856, cancellation of the decree about slavery cancellation. 1858, the capital of Nicaragua, Managua. Military government, American occupation, dictatorship of Somoza clan. 1910, the beginning of government of military junta. 1912-1933, occupation of the USA. 1927, the beginning of national liberation fight under the leadership of Augusto Cesar Sandino. 1927-1934. 1934-1979 Government of Somoza Clan, the right authoritative oligarchical dictatorship supported by the USA. The founder of a ruling dynasty of Anastasio Somos Garcia is killed in 1956 by the revolutionary Rigoberto López Pérez. From 1957 to 1967 the president of Nicaragua was his eldest son Luis Somoza Debayle, in 1967-1979. With a short break. The younger son of Anastasio Somos Debayle. About 1961 fights against dictatorship develops the Sandinista Front of National Release. SNR. In 1978, after murder of the conservative politician and the journalist Pedro Joaquin Chamorro, Massachusetts protests develop into the armed revolt suppressed by National Guard. Snow continues guerrilla war against the mode. (1979) A victory of Sandinista revolution. On the night of July 17, Somos's family flees the country. Somoza Francisco Urquijo's successor resigns on July 18. On July 19 the insurgent army of SNO enters Managua. Anastasio Somos Debayle is killed in Paraguay in September 1980. The power passes to the government junta of National Revival presenting to SNO and other opposition forces of democratic orientation. 1980-1981 The Liberal Conservatives. Violeta Barrios de Chamorro. Social Democrats. Alfonso Rabello. And Demisocialist. Eden Pastor. Are forced out from the government. The leader of the enterprise opposition movement Jorge Salazar is killed. The one-party board of SNO, which announced itself the Marxist organization, is established. The power concentrates in management SNO hands led by Daniel Ortega. SNO begins reorganization of a political regime on a sample of Cuba and the USA. The intelligence agency of SG develops political repressions, in economy nationalization of the industry and agrarian collectivization is carried out. However, the unaided political opposition and private business completely aren't destroyed, that and another is allowed in limited limits. 1981-1988 An active phase of civil war between ruling SNO and the movement Contras. Ortega's government takes more and more pro-Soviet positions, enjoy active support of the American administration of Ronald Reagan. The Nicaraguan conflict turns into an important element of global Cold War. 1984, on the elections organized by SNO, Daniel Ortega is elected the president of Nicaragua. The armed opposition doesn't recognize legitimacy of vote. 1987, the organization, Dindan MNEN, Social Christian Party, the movement of Indians Yatama, unite in the coalition the Nicaraguan resistance. RARI. Formations of Dindan and ARD begin the coordinated massive approach with the north. From Honduras. And with the south. From Costa Rica. Military results have limited character, but the government agrees to political dialogue. 1988, the Sandinista government after conclusion of peace with Yatama concludes Sablashinai Sapoa with Ferrari. Civil war stops, the opposition is legalized, free presidential elections and parliament are appointed. Liberal governments. 1990, as a result of democratic elections of SNO, despite all forecasts of sociologists, unexpectedly suffers a defeat. The National Union of Opposition, headed by the right-centrist President Violeta Barrios de Chamorro, comes to the power. SFNO passes into opposition, but reserves personnel positions in law enforcement agencies. The new government carries out a complex of the liberal reforms in political and economic system. 1991, under the obscure circumstances, the military head Enrique Bermudez is killed. 1992, the chief of staff of Rari Israel Galino dies in road accident. 1993, one of founders of Tindén Aristide Sanchez dies of a disease. 1996, the leader of the right Somoza, who is historically connected with the former mode of the Liberal Constitution Party, LIPI, Arnoldo Ailman, is elected the new president. Like he concludes informal arrangements with SFNO, the mode of two-party dictatorship is set. 2001, the representative of Laki Enrique Bolaños is elected the president. At the same time, the son of the dictator Anastasio Somoza Portocarrero, overthrown in 1979, supported not Bolaños, and the candidate for the leader of SFNO Daniel Ortega, as he introduced values and orders of the Somoza mode more. 2002, Arnoldo Ailman is arrested on a charge of corruption, subsequently is sentenced to 20 years of prison. Corruption scandal sharply undermines prestige of the Liberal government. The second board of SFNO. 2006, on the next elections by the President Daniel Ortega is again elected. SFNO returns to the power under the slogans of protection of traditional values. On this basis, Ortega's government is supported by the Party of the Nicaraguan Resistance, uniting the majority being 2008, SFNO wins a victory on municipal elections. In particular, the famous boxer Alexis Argelo is elected the mayor of Managua. I died next year under the obscure circumstances. The opposition accuses the government of falsification of results of vote. In 2009, the Supreme Court cancels restrictions for the number of presidential terms. This decision doesn't pass a statement in Parliament that causes protests of opposition Independent Liberal Party. The figures who were in opposition to Somocista and Ortega accused the President Ortega of intention to remain for life in power. But the Liberal Constitution Party doesn't put forward objections. Arnoldo Ailman is released from under house arrest. 2010, the organizations of the armed underground begin guerrilla and terrorist actions against the government of SFNO. 2011, presidential and parliamentary elections. Daniel Ortega, with big overweight, is elected for a new term. SFNO receives the vast majority in National Assembly. 2012, the political leader, the 1980th Adolfo Calero, Peace Oblationía co-author, died. 2013, the former chief of Sandinista intelligence agency of Chile and Serna is appointed the political coordinator of the judicial system. Management SFNO continues to condense control over political system and economic assets. 2014, the 35th anniversary of the victory of Sandinista revolution is widely celebrated on July 19. On July 20, a resonant terrorist attack is conducted. The underground organization FASN fires at buses with participants of celebrations. 5 people died, 19 are wounded. 2015, the opposition bloc, the National Coalition for Democracy, is consolidated. The Independent Liberal Party of Eduardo Montalegre is adjoined by a group of the former commanders. Intention on the next elections to strip of power Snow and Daniel Ortega is declared. 2016 supporters of Snow and Lackey carried out raider occupation of Independent Liberal Party. Presidential elections are won by Ortega again. His wife that wasn't even at Somosac becomes the vice president. Nicaragua, the biggest across the territory among the countries of Central America. 129,494 km. Reaches 540 km in width, and has an exit as to the Pacific Ocean where the extent of her coastline is about 320 km, and to the Caribbean Sea. 480 km of the coastline. Total length of sea border reaches 800 km. The coastline minus 910 km. On the land of Nicaragua borders on Honduras. 922 km. In the north and Costa Rica. 309 km. In the south. Only 1231 km of overland borders. The capital and the main town of the country, Managua. Nicaragua, one of the most seldom populated countries of Central America, also concedes in this regard only to Belize. Within the territory of Nicaragua, differing in a big variety of landscapes, it is possible to allocate 4 large natural areas. The most part of the country is occupied by the mountain area, which is narrowed to the south, having the form of a triangle of brown tones on the card, the Nicaraguan uplands. From the east it is adjoined by the second area framing the Caribbean coast, the wide strip of lowlands known as the Mosquito Coast. The Caribbean coast of Nicaragua is low, mostly is boggy and plentifully grew with the mangrove woods and almost impassable jungle. This area never drew attention of the Spanish conquistadors with fertile farmlands or gold deposits, therefore here the sites of flora and fauna characteristic of pre-Columbian America remained. The third area is formed by the lowland extending along the southern overland border of the country across an isthmus from Fonseca Bay on the southeast to the Caribbean coast, and the fourth, a volcanic zone of the western Nicaragua, with numerous active volcanoes. The last is most populated, both because of fertile volcanic soils, and owing to more favorable, dry and not so hot as on East Coast, climate. Temperature of the coldest month, at the height of 1500 m on the western coast, is January 16 C. In the Navatreni, open to a trade wind, east parts of the territory up to 50-100 m of rainfall a year. Further to the west the amount of precipitation decreases. Here 2 seasons, dry. November, April. And damp are quite accurately traced. May, October. Nicaragua has quite various flora and fauna. Among trees the oak, a pine. Western and central. Mountain. Parts of the country. Mahogany, rubber-bearing plants are especially widespread. Among animals, puma, ocelot, deer, several species of monkeys, alligator, large number of a hummingbird and parrots. In the Lake Nicaragua, the largest lake of the country and all Central America, freshwater sharks. Length of 2-3 m. And the swordfish are found. It is a consequence of the fact that earlier this lake, as well as all large lakes of Nicaragua, was the sea gulf until the tectonic activity created the Pacific plain separating now the lake from the ocean. Also the Nicaragua Falls. 74 meters, which bear in itself himself waters of two rivers, Morera and in Delta, flow into this lake. National bird of Nicaragua is a Momitovi family Eumomota superciliosa. Dynamics of population, 1.6 million. 1962. 3.4 million. 1988. 4.91 million. 2000. 6.1 million. July 2015. Annual gain minus 1.3%. Fertility minus 2.5 births only woman. Average life expectancy minus 69.6 years at men, 74 years is at women. Contamination a virus of an immunodeficiency. HIV. Minus 0.2%. Assessment of 2007. Ethnic structure. Metizers of 69%. White 12%. Black, mulattoes and Samba of 14%. Indians of 5%. Official Spanish, also Indian languages, 1.7%. Are used, among Afro-Nicaraguans and Indians of East Coast, the local dialect of the West Indian option of English, 0.8%. Is widespread. Literacy of the population minus 78.0%. Assessment of 2010, is share illiterate is more senior than 15 years. According to the Research Center Pew Research Center in 2010, 97 million Christians, who made 85.9% of the population of this country, lived in Nicaragua. The Encyclopedia World Religions by J. Shi. Nelson estimates a share of Christians in 2010 at 96%. 5.597 million. The largest direction of Christianity in the country is Catholicism of 58.5%. Further evangelists of 21.6%. The Assemblies of God, the Church of God and Baptists. The Moravian Brothers of 1.6%. Among Indians and Samba of autonomous regions of the Atlantic coast. Jehovah's Witnesses of 0.9%, other 1.7%, atheists of 15.7% follow. On a census of 2005. In the capital of Managua in 2009, the Nicaragua's first mosque was built. The Islamic Cultural Association in Managua is regularly visited by about 320 men. The political system, the presidential republic. The head of state and the government is the President of Nicaragua, elected for a period of 5 years. In October 2009, the Supreme Court of Nicaragua repealed the article of the Constitution limiting presidency with one 5-year term. It allowed the leader of SNO, Daniel Ortega, to stand and win repeatedly a victory on elections of 2011. The decision of the Supreme Court and Ortega's re-election sparked sharp criticism of legal opposition and emergence of the armed underground on type the 1980th years. Legislature, Unicameral National Assembly from 92 deputies. 90 deputies are elected general by direct vote for 5-year term. From them 20 according to the national list, 70 from districts and autonomous regions. Deputies are also the president ruling the last 5 years and the candidate for president who gained the largest number of votes after the winner on the last elections. The political parties represented in National Assembly following the results of elections on November 6, 2011. The Sandinista Front of National Release. The leader Daniel Ortega adheres to specific ideology of the left option of the right traditionalism. -63 mandates. Independent Liberal Party. Right-centrist oppositional, the leader Eduardo Montalegre. -27 mandates. The Liberal Constitution Party. Right-centrist, cooperating with the government, the leader Arnoldo Ailman. -2 mandates. By results of vote, Sandinistas received 62 mandates, Independent Liberals -26, but deputies became also their candidates for president. About 20 legal parties in National Assembly aren't represented. Armed Forces of Nicaragua incorporate the Air Force, Naval Forces and Ground Forces. Total number of troops is estimated approximately at 14,000 people. The military budget makes $85 million, or about 0.7% of expenses of the country. On arms there is in the basic the Soviet and Russian weapon, there are also British, French, Turkish types of military equipment. Nicaragua, the country generally with agrarian economy, one of the poorest in the Western Hemisphere. Only Honduras and Haiti are poorer than her in Central America. DDD per capita on PPS in 2009, $4,800. The 168th place in the world. The share of the population is lower than the official level of poverty, -48%. In 2005. Unemployment -8.2%. In 2009. In national debt -17% of DDD. According to the Union, 79% of the population of Nicaragua live less than for $2 a day. In agriculture, 17.5% of DDD, 29% working. Are made coffee, bananas, cane sugar, cotton, rice, corn, tobacco, so. The industry, 26.5% of DDD, 19% working. Processing of agricultural products, production of drinks, textile and shoe production, processing of oil products, sawmills. Services industry -56% of DDD, 52% working. Problem is the condition of power. 84% of the electric power produced on thermal power plant, though in 1990 half of electricity was made on J's and hydroelectric power station. Due to the high prices of oil, such structure of power production leads to inflation and slowdown in economic growth. In 2007 inflation was 16.88% and DDD growth only 3.7%. The sectors of economy leading on growth rates: bank, construction, the food industry, tourism, textile production. Export in 2017, $5.34 billion. Import in 2017, $7.86 billion. The main export goods. 2017. Textile goods, 28%. The isolated wire, 12%. Coffee, 9.7%. Gold, 8%. And the frozen beef, 5.7%. Are also exported fruit, nuts, sugar, tobacco and crustacea. The main buyers. In 2017, the USA, $3.09 billion. Mexico, $340 million. El Salvador, $275 million. Costa Rica, $154 million. And Honduras, $154 million. The main import goods. 2017. Machines, the equipment and electronics, 16.9%. Textile raw materials, fabrics and semi-finished products, 16.2%. Chemical goods, including medicines, 13%. And also oil products, metals and final food products. The main suppliers. In 2017, the USA, $1.75 billion. China, $1.16 billion. Mexico, $1.01 billion. Honduras, $0.5 billion. And Costa Rica, $0.478 billion. External debt of Nicaragua minus $4.7 billion for the end of 2009. National currency, Cordoba Oro. An official exchange rate minus 20.8 Cordobas Oro for $1. Nicaragua has negative trade balance. Import exceeds export more than for $1 billion. On the one hand, the policy of fight against inflation going from the middle of the 90th by means of higher rate of national currency, with another, the currency credits of the IMF, which are material resources of such policy. In 2006, currency reserves of Nicaragua reached $869 million. Is the main reason for it. As a result, in 1994-2004 the effective rate of Cordoba grew by 2.5 times because of what the prices of export goods sharply increased, and considerably decreased by import. Many traditional productions, such as production of coffee, undergo, because of inadequate rate of national currency, a tendency to reduction even despite increase in prices for coffee in the world market in recent years. Monetary unit of Nicaragua, Cordoba. 1 Cordoba equals 100 centavos. $1 is approximately equivalent 35 Cordobas. February 2021. The currency can be exchanged in one of banks or exchange offices. It is also possible to pay in any place dollars. Euro in the country is accepted only in banks. Credit cards are accepted for payment everywhere. Growth of military expenses, losses and destructions during fighting and diversions, became the reason of a fast hyperinflation which in 1988 reached 30,000%. As a result, for several years overprints on banknotes of old years of release, in thousands and tens of thousands of times increasing the face value of these notes became. Overprints became plain black typographical paint. In one paint. In 1987-1991 on notes of the Nicaraguan currency Cordoba of sample 1979 and 1985 of years. These overprints were carried out often very poor. Are on one party of the note, or it is curved, are the turned overprints. Head over heels. Or badly printed print. Because of ease of fakes, counterfeit money with these overprints was widespread. Minerals. Gold, silver, copper, tungsten, lead, zinc, nickel, mercury in small amounts. On the shelf oil and gas is found. At the moment the Western companies try to acquire the rights for their development, with which they, however, interfere as ecological affairs of neighboring countries. In particular Costa Rica, with her developed resort tourism industry. And the border disputes directly affecting some oil fields. In the second half of the 20th century, in connection with the increased influence of the USSR, in Nicaragua the ideas of the left sense began to gain strength. It in turn, led to the conflict with the USA, the supported Somoza's dictator. Now in Nicaragua the anti-American movement gained strength that led the country to rapprochement with Cuba, Venezuela, Bolivia, etc. The countries. Recently, because of actions of the American military, Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. In the management Nicaragua the pro-Russian mood supported with the memory of generous support of the pro-Soviet mode by the government of the USSR began to amplify. A debt of Nicaragua the USSR at the time of disintegration of the last made about $3.5 billion. Slightly less than 1,000 on one Nicaraguan. Russia step by step wrote off all debt. The foreign policy of Nicaragua is directly connected with activity of Daniel Ortega, the president of the country, the leader of the party the Sandinista Front of the National Release, which won presidential elections in 2006. Since coming to power, Ortega made a number of changes in a foreign policy, but some directions remained at him invariable in comparison with the previous liberal government. As well as the previous administration, a Sandinista management considers the large-scale external help as a necessary condition of economic survival of the country. Ortega accepted all conditions of the USA and other large international donors guaranteeing allocation of new portions of financial feed. As the main donors for Nicaragua the USA, the EU, Japan and Taiwan act. As the USA remains the main competitor in domestic market of Nicaragua, making about 24% of commodity turnover of the country, a relationship with this state remains cool. The main political partners are the countries of the Latin American socialism, Venezuela, Cuba, Bolivia and also Ecuador. The International Court of Justice, the highest judicial authority of the Union, in November 2012 made the decision on more than 10-year lawsuit of Colombia and Nicaragua around group of disputed islands in the Caribbean region, having decided that they belong to Colombia, however having changed also sea border and having broadened with the territorial waters of Nicaragua. BBC reported about it. The archipelago for which there was a dispute is approximately in 775 came from the coast of Colombia and in 230 came from Nicaragua. In the judgment it is said that the islands of Roncador, Quitasueño, Serrana, Serenalia, Bajo Nuevo, Cayo Bolivar and Albuquerque and also waters and a seabed around them belong to Colombia. At the same time the resolution of court according to which territorial waters of Nicaragua are increased potentially gives to the country a fishery expansion opportunity and also gives her access to oil and gas fields. In the decision, it is also emphasized that it doesn't influence borders of territorial waters of Costa Rica and Honduras in any way. Tropical Pasitni. Average daytime temperature of the dry period from March to May 24-32 C. Rains are possible during the period from June to October, the average daytime temperature of 26-28 C. The best time for a trip to the Pacific coast and to the central regions of the country, the dry and cool beginning of winter. It is possible to go to the Atlantic coast at all seasons of the year, except for very dusty April and May. Holidays. On January 1, New Year. On January 6, Epiphany. Arrival of magicians. Epiphania. On March 8, the International Women's Day. Noble date in March-April, Sacred Week. Including the Palm Sunday. Holy Thursday, Friday and Saturday, Resurrection. Easter. On May 1, the Labor Day. On May 3, Day of a Cross. On May 30, the Mother's Day. On June 1, Day of the Child. On June 27, Day of the Nicaraguan Resistance, the World. Freedom, Unity and National Reconciliation. On July 19, Day of Sandinista Revolution. 1979. On August 1, the holiday Santo Domingo. 5 new Cordobas after coming to power of Violeta Chamorro. 1991. On September 14, anniversary of battle at San Jacinto. On September 15, the Independence Day. On September 29, Day of the Bible. On November 2, Day of the Dead. On December 8, Immaculate Conception. On December 12, Day of Friendship between Russia and Nicaragua. On December 25, Christmas. Each settlement of Nicaragua once a year celebrates the Day of the Guardian Angel, a fiesta. Since 2009, Nicaragua cancelled visas to citizens of Russia, Ukraine and 70 more countries of the world. At entry into the country it is necessary to pay $10, and at a departure airport collecting of $35 in case he wasn't included in the cost of air tickets. The certificate on inoculations isn't required. During the importing and evacuation of pets it is necessary to show the relevant documents and to pay permission to import/export of $20. It is authorized to import 200 cigarettes, either 50 cigars, or 500 g of tobacco, 3 L of alcoholic drinks, 2 K of candies or chocolate. It is also possible to import the mini computer, the field glass, a photo, audio and video equipment, in one subject of each name. Locals use rice and local vegetables dishes. From meat dishes iguanas are eaten. Hotels and restaurants will offer tourists the dishes prepared generally from seafood. The most known alcoholic drink in Nicaragua is Flor de Cañas rum, which is exported all over the world. Each settlement of Nicaragua once a year celebrates the Day of the Guardian Angel, a fiesta. During one of such holidays, for example January in San Sebastian and July in Santiago, it is possible to see a lot of colorful folklore performances and masquerade processions. The most part of vehicles and means of communication is concentrated in the western part of the country. Intensive construction of highways began in the 1940th years, their total length in the country about 30,000 km, generally without hard coating now. As on East Coast the rainy season lasts 9 months from 12, and there are practically no roads with a hard coating there. The most part of year East Coast is cut off in the transport relation from the western part of the country. The local population uses the local rivers with which the country east abounds for movement. The national airline, La Costeña, makes flights on internal flights from the capital airport, Augusto Cesar Sandino. From the same airport the international flights by foreign airlines are made. The main seaport Corinto is located on the Pacific coast. As the most part of a trade turnover of the country is made by trade with the Atlantic countries, ports of neighbors on the Atlantic coast, the Lemon in Costa Rica and Puerto Limpa in Honduras are forcibly used. The existing ports of the Atlantic coast of Nicaragua, such as Bluefields and so forth, don't allow to use a condition of internal overland communications and insufficient depths. The deepwater port in Manky Point is only the project now. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.